I'd like to dedicate this to all of you from all of us. And to thank you for being here tonight, and this is a song that I wrote here, so it's special for you.
Christine McVie's contributions to Fleetwood Mac are often described as the glue that held the band together, while the dramatic personal entanglements of Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham frequently took centre stage. McVie operated with quiet assurance, delivering some of the most enduring melodies in the group's history. She was not one for theatrics or grandstanding. Instead, she crafted songs with warmth, sincerity, and an innate understanding of how to turn simple emotions into timeless anthems. Her songwriting was neither indulgent nor overly poetic. She preferred clarity, writing in a way that felt immediate and universal. "I don't like too many clever metaphors," she once said. "I just like to write a simple, direct love song." That approach made her work both accessible and deceptively powerful. She was a storyteller who didn't rely on flourishes, just pure melody, lyrics that spoke plainly, and arrangements that let the song breathe.
Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone.
Fleetwood Mac's history is often told as a cycle of betrayal, reconciliation, and reinvention, but McVie was the steady force that ensured the music remained bigger than the chaos. Her best songs are neither overwrought nor self-indulgent. They exist in a place of emotional clarity, free from pretense. Over a career that spanned decades, she gave the band some of its defining moments, balancing the tension between her bandmates with melodies that felt effortless but never lightweight. It's difficult to narrow her work down to just 5 essential songs, but each track here represents a key part of her influence on Fleetwood Mac and the evolution of the band itself. From stripped-back ballads to shimmering pop masterpieces, these songs capture the essence of McVie's artistry, elegant, direct, and deeply human. Songbird remains one of the most cherished moments in the Fleetwood Mac catalogue. While Rumours is often remembered for its cutting lyrical jabs and barely concealed bitterness, this song exists in an entirely different realm. It is McVie at her most vulnerable, and the result is spellbinding. The story of how it came to be is almost as legendary as the song itself. One night, in the middle of recording Rumours, McVie sat down at a piano and composed the entire piece in half an hour. Fearing she would forget it, she stayed awake until morning, refusing to sleep until she could record it properly. "I knew it was special, and I was scared it would disappear if I didn't get it down," she later recalled. Unlike the rest of Rumours, which was painstakingly layered with harmonies, overdubs, and studio effects, Songbird was kept as simple as possible. Producer Ken Kylat suggested recording it in an empty concert hall to capture its intimacy, and McVie agreed. With only her voice and a piano, she created something that felt almost sacred. John McVie would later say, "When Christine played Songbird, grown men would weep. I did every night." The song became a staple of Fleetwood Mac's live shows, often performed as the final encore. It was a moment of stillness in a band that was anything but still. It spoke to something deeper than the soap opera that often surrounded them. When McVie passed away in 2022, the song took on an even greater significance, with Stevie Nicks and Mick Fleetwood both referencing it as the piece that defined her spirit. A decade after Rumours, Fleetwood Mac found themselves in a very different world. The rock landscape had shifted, and Tango in the Night embraced a more polished, synthesizer-heavy sound. Yet within that, McVie's Everywhere stood out as a perfect piece of pop craftsmanship.
I'd like to carry on now with a song from the Tango in the Night album called Everywhere.
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say.
From the opening chimes of Buckingham's guitar to the shimmering layers of backing vocals, everything about Everywhere feels effortless. It's one of those songs that immediately lifts the mood, a moment of lightness in a band that often leaned into darkness. But behind the easygoing sound, the recording process was fraught with tension. By this point, Fleetwood Mac were barely functioning as a unit. The sessions were marked by conflict, and Buckingham walked away shortly after the album's completion. None of that turmoil is present in Everywhere. McVie had a way of cutting through the noise, and this song is a perfect example of that. The melody is so natural that it feels like it must have always existed, yet it was McVie's skill as a writer that made it seem so effortless.
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say.
It became one of Fleetwood Mac's biggest hits, reaching new audiences with every passing decade. Even now, it remains one of the band's most streamed songs, proof that great songwriting never fades. Then there is You Make Loving Fun, one of the most upbeat and infectious tracks on Rumours, despite its less than innocent origins.
You make love fun.
McVie wrote it about her affair with the band's lighting engineer Curry Grant, at a time when relationships within Fleetwood Mac were already dangerously strained. Knowing it wouldn't sit well with her ex-husband John, she offered up an alternative explanation. "I told him it was about my dog," she later admitted. The song captures something few others on Rumours do: unfiltered joy.
Wonderful you make me happy with the things you do.
While the rest of the album is soaked in heartbreak, bitterness and regret, You Make Loving Fun feels like an antidote. The groove is tight, the melody irresistible, and McVie's vocal delivery is full of genuine happiness. It's a song about pleasure, plain and simple. That's part of what made McVie so essential to Fleetwood Mac. She didn't write as a poet or a philosopher. She wrote as someone who understood how to communicate the immediacy of emotion. You Make Loving Fun isn't dressed up in elaborate metaphors or dense wordplay. It's direct, and that's exactly what makes it so effective. By the time Mirage arrived in 1982, Fleetwood Mac were trying to recapture some of the stability that had made Rumours such a phenomenon. The years following Tusk had been turbulent, and Mirage was an attempt to return to something more familiar. McVie's Hold Me was one of the standout moments.
This is quite old. This goes back to the Mirage album, if any of you are old enough to remember that one. Anyway, here we go.
Written about her failed relationship with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, it carried a sense of longing beneath its breezy exterior. The call and response vocals between McVie and Buckingham gave it a dynamic quality, and the production, layered pianos, shimmering guitars, gave it a weightlessness that set it apart from some of the band's heavier moments. The song was a massive hit in the US, spending 7 weeks in the top 5. However, it didn't chart in the UK, marking the beginning of a shift in Fleetwood Mac's commercial appeal on either side of the Atlantic. But regardless of chart performance, Hold Me remains one of McVie's finest compositions. It's not as often cited as some of her other hits, but it deserves to be. It showcases her ability to write with both clarity and depth, to craft a song that feels both immediate and lasting. Then comes Little Lies, the last truly massive hit of Fleetwood Mac's golden era.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Released in 1987, it was co-written by McVie and her then-husband Eddie Quintella. Unlike many of her earlier songs, it carries a sense of resignation. It's not about new love or the joy of infatuation. It's about living with something that isn't quite right, but refusing to let it go.
But I couldn't find a way, so I'll settle for one day to believe in you.
She was never the loudest member of Fleetwood Mac. She wasn't the most theatrical or the most controversial, but she was, without question, one of the most important. Her songs were the foundation that allowed the band to soar, and their longevity speaks for itself. Through decades of upheaval, one thing remained constant. Christine McVie knew how to write a song that would last.